If a console sells 10,000 units, it's considered a failure. But if a girl has 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, it's considered a cause for celebration. I'm your cool Uncle Marissa, and I am that girl. Thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. That's insane. As a celebration for that, I am doing a Q&A. You guys responded with questions to my post, and I'm going to answer them. Hopefully you got your question in before the deadline, because I'm never answering questions ever again. That was your only chance. If like you run into me in the mall and you're like, oh my god, I really have to pee, do you know where the restroom is? I won't tell you, because I'm not answering any more questions, so you should have asked when you had the chance. By the way, we've got Sea of Stars back here. I'm not actually currently playing that, but I didn't record a video while I was playing it, so it didn't get a chance to shine, and I am not currently, right now, right this second, playing anything, so I figured it can have its time in the limelight, because I really enjoyed it. But also it made me realize that maybe I do like some of the annoying stuff about traditional JRPGs. Anyway, questions. All right, so the first question is from Friandia, and it's, what's it like always being the coolest person in the room? I don't know, Friandia. You tell me. LaRobert7737 asks, what languages can you speak? I can speak English. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I also have a bachelor's degree in French. I would really love to practice with someone, because once I left college, I haven't been back to France either, and I'm just a mess. I can speak some Spanish from like middle school and early high school, but yeah, that's it. Wingweaver4184 asks, what is your favorite retro handheld? Just off the top of my head, I would say is a tie between Game Boy Advance and PSP. I feel like they both have really good games, and they kind of were some of the last of the handheld days of gaming, because now everything is kind of just essentially on the same platform. There's not really much that's specifically handheld. I'm not trying to ignore the DS and 3DS. I think those were definitely very innovative as well, but the Game Boy Advance was my first handheld, so I have a soft spot for it. And PSP, I just keep finding myself going back to it. It was also the first console that I bought myself. I bought it, well, no, actually that was the Nintendo DS Lite, but I did buy myself a PSP in high school off eBay, and I still have it, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels so good to hold. It feels very much like you've got the big picture, you had 3D graphics. It was one of those first experiences I had of like when you're a kid and you think that, oh, if I buy like the Game Boy version or the Game Boy Advance version of XYZ game, it's gonna be like the same, right? Like that's how I felt when I got, even on DS when I had Phantom Hourglass. I was like, oh, finally a Zelda game. And I'd seen my friend playing Twilight Princess, and I was like, this is very different. I've been bamboozled. But PSP felt so much bigger. I played Crisis Core, and I think many of us bought a PSP for that game, and it just felt like I was finally playing on a home console, because I had a PS2 prior to that. So it really brought that back, and yeah, I love it. I have like 3 of them for some reason now. Just Jags OG says, do you think you'll ever attempt a portable Wii build? I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. It's very cool. I love the ones that I've seen, but the thing is that I try very much to make things that I will use, both just because of time, but also space. I don't want to make something and then not use it, and I'm kind of bad at letting go when I've actually worked on something, and I don't really see myself using a portable Wii because I don't really play Wii games, and I play all of my GameCube games on my TV on GameCube. But I won't rule it out. I might, who knows. There's this wonderful person working on a mod for the DMG, and it's made me finally be like, oh, maybe I will get a DMG, and I don't like the DMG, so I don't have a crystal ball, Jags. I won't say no, but I won't say yes. Stjarnlius you know who you are, says favorite dinosaur. Favorite dinosaur is birds. Birds are dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are birds. We know that now, so this isn't cheating. But then that makes it hard. I love pigeons. I love chickens. I really like when it comes to like parrots and parakeets. I love the Indian ringneck. They're so cute. They're so pretty, but also the fact that they learn and imitate human speech, but in their own voice, and their voice is so cute, is just, it's perfect. Because like parrots and stuff who copy human speech and human voice, it's a little bit unnerving to me. But Indian ringnecks doing it in their own voice is just like, it's straight out of a cartoon. I also like finches and all those other birds you see on the streets. I love urban wildlife. God, birds are just so beautiful. I love all the birds. I mean, like, do I dislike vultures? You know, they get a bad rap, but I recently saw a video of vulture babies getting the zoomies. So how could you hate them either? But if we're being puritanical, growing up, my favorite dinosaur was a pterodactyl because I thought it was cool that it could fly. So in a way, I was ahead of the curve on the dinosaurs are birds, birds are dinosaurs thing. Macy says, what's one detail of a build or mod you've done that you're proud of, but people may not have seen or noticed? Alternatively, what's been the most rewarding part of your YouTube or modding journey? I think they're both great questions, so I will answer both. One detail that you're proud of, but people may not have seen or noticed? I guess in terms of seen, as in they weren't on my channel. RGB modding my TV for the first time was a project, and the X Station, which is the PS1 micro SD mod, was also something that I was very proud of because I hadn't done something that detailed until then, and the fact that it went well, except the first time. The first time it went very poorly because I was so pleased with things going well. I was on autopilot and I lifted the wrong legs on the IC chip. So, but once I did complete it, I was very pleased with that. In terms of things I've done like on the channel, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if like I've done anything that people haven't noticed because I'll point it out. Like I was pretty pleased with the bodge wire I did on my BMO Pocket Color build because that's not something that I would have been able to do, say, like a couple of years ago. But I did point that out. So people did say, good job. The most rewarding part of YouTube or modding journey, I mean, in terms of modding, the most rewarding part and part of why I wanted to start the channel is it's very empowering to just understand that you can open up electronics and you can try to fix things. And I think that is very helpful because we're kind of in a society where your options are pay a ton of money to get something repaired possibly, or throw it away. And it's often cheaper to throw it away than to get something repaired. So being able to do that repair can help save things, which environmentally is better, but also in terms of sentimental value, it can be very helpful in terms of preservation. And in terms of the YouTube journey, I really appreciate that I've kind of been able to be me, and that's been comforting to some people, especially other queer people and women in the community who, you know, weren't seeing someone similar to them doing this stuff on YouTube. So that like makes me feel good. Lego Armo says, I am curious about your accent, how long you've spent in the UK and US, etc., and if you miss anything specific about home, wherever that may be. Yeah, so I was born in London in the UK, and then we moved to Maryland when I was little, and then in high school we moved back to London. And then for college I went to Northern California because I wanted to go somewhere warm, and I did not know that Northern California is not warm. I just knew that California is warm. So that was just like a bunch of years of awful weather and culture shock. And now I'm in New York, which I think is a nice balance of London's culture and Maryland's weather, although that's probably not appealing to everyone. I don't consider any place home, unfortunately or fortunately. What I miss about London maybe would be just like, what do I miss? very specific things, like specific foods. I don't know, Jaffa cakes, fish and chips. That's like actually good. Fish and chips in the US sucks. I miss the parks, like, but you know, I think New York City parks come close enough, but it's just very small things because a city is a city. That's kind of rude maybe to the culture of it, but yeah. Mike Dub says, are there any mods you want to do but haven't done yet? If you were, okay, there's a few questions. I'll answer one by one. Is there any mods that you want to do but haven't done yet? Yes. I want to do the Frog Boy color. What else? I want to RGB mod my second TV. Is there anything else? I always have this fear that I'm going to just like do all the mods that I want and then like this channel's going to be defunct. But there's been a few times where I'm like, oh God, is this it? But no, there's always something new to discover. I think those are the ones. If you were stuck on a desert island, which handheld console and 3 games would you want to pass the time? The 3 games one is hard. I would say a Nintendo Switch. I think Bastion, because I've played Bastion several times over and it's been fun each time. I want to say Animal Crossing. I feel like Animal Crossing would either provide me immense comfort in like the loneliness of a deserted island, or it would drive me insane in the loneliness of a deserted island. But let's say Animal Crossing. And then I'm thinking either like a platformer to just have like the challenge, to have something to work towards, but I also like maybe a JRPG with a good story so that I have something comforting. Maybe Fire Emblem Three Houses. I would finally do the other 2 routes, or other 3 routes. If I was on a deserted island, maybe I'd be like, I have nothing else to do, so perhaps now I will betray Edelgard, my wife. And what's your favorite kind of pizza? Pizza with like vegetables on it. Like all the vegetables, like olives and like peppers and stuff. If there's meat on it, I don't care one way or another, but I really like veggie pizza. It doesn't have, I'm not vegetarian or vegan or anything. It's just, I don't know. It's just so good, and like the textures. Vakunit says, I love your video aesthetic. Can you tell a bit about your camera gear, mic, and lights? Yes, I will film it too, and I will overlay these. My camera is a Canon EOS R, and I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I had a Canon 6D Mark II. Unfortunately, it has a really bizarre problem with not having like a focus in the middle, and I was still managing to get by even though I was using it for portrait photography, but for videography it kind of was a bit of a challenge. So I figured I'd upgrade, and that was the mirrorless thing, and so I got the EOS R, and I've been warming up to it. I mean, I know I've had it for a long time, but I've been warming up to it, but it's kind of hard for me to use it as a photography camera unless it's for like a job, which I don't have because I don't really do photography anymore as like a way for income. It's just too clean. So I've ended up picking up an Olympus EPL7, a Micro Four Thirds camera that I can just throw in my backpack, and that way I can take fun photos and like heck, even save them as JPEGs. Who cares? It's just for me, you know. I'm trying to find that passion again. But for videography, the EOS R is perfect. It's with a 35mm lens. I've got this light. It's a light from Neewer. This is like their big light that doesn't have the digital panel which tells you what temperature you're on and stuff, because I'm cheap. I have a monitor. There's also a Neewer monitor. The monitor kind of sucks, but I just use it because I want to see what's in focus and what's in frame, but the colors and stuff are kind of crap. I have this Rode. It's covered in cat hair. This is a Video Mic Go or Video Mic Pro. It's one of them. You can look up both of them and see which one it looks like. Yeah, when I first started, I had like the Rode Video Micro, but it was something micro. And this was so much better, but obviously I had to save up and stuff. And then for accent lighting, I have these like LEDs that are really small, also Neewer. Yeah, and that's it. I have a very small space, as you can see, like the light is literally on my bed. So I'm not really able to have a ton of equipment, and I don't need a ton of equipment. Like if I had like a freaking like 3 light setup or something, it would be ridiculous. Oh, and the other thing is I have an ND filter on my camera lens because that way the highlights aren't blowing out. Also, if you're going to be on camera yourself, you definitely need makeup. I would at minimum recommend setting powder to prevent or reduce any like blown out highlights. You want to look for setting powder that has like it says that it doesn't have flashback. I use the Kosas setting powder. And then concealer is helpful. I see a lot of YouTubers who just look really tired, so concealer can help. Cameras really bring out the worst in all of us. And that's why all actors wear makeup. The lights and everything, they really flatten the dimensions of your face and they bring out the awful bits and make you shiny. So just get yourself camera ready too. She/Day, hey, I get it, says something I'm curious about are some of your earliest games you remember playing or which ones were formative to you. Yes, absolutely, because it was so few that I remember. My first console was gifted to us by my aunt when I was very little. It was a Sega Mega Drive, and it came with one of the Sonic games, and it came with what I, after much research, found out it was Micro Machines, and I loved both of them. Both were very fun, and the part that sticks out to me and makes Micro Machines so memorable is like there's this kitchen sink level, and you go on the sponge, and like the sponge like moves across the sink, and it's just so cute. Man, little me would have loved Katamari. I remember playing GoldenEye at someone's house at one point, and that was very like kind of overwhelming to me because I was used to these kind of bright colors and stuff of Sonic and Micro Machines. And I would say Sonic was very formative because also when I finally got a Game Boy Advance and I needed a game for it, I picked Sonic. So I was playing Sonic Advance so much. So to me, that was like the only game for a long time. And then another formative game was when I finally got a PS2, one of my friends in school was like, oh, I have these games that I don't want. And he gave me Final Fantasy X, and Final Fantasy X is still my favorite game, but it was like, I didn't know games could do that. Which is kind of funny because I feel like it's actually, I think my girlfriend had that reaction at one point, like, I didn't know games could do that because, you know, sometimes you just think that games are like, you know, arcade style or shooters or whatever. You don't realize they can be so story-based if you're not actually in the sphere. And that was when my JRPG and like RPG thing started. And then the next one was I got a gaming laptop in college and I like created a Steam account and I got some like highly rated games and stuff, and the first one I played was Mass Effect, which I really appreciated because it had that familiarity of being an RPG and having a story and stuff, but it was the first like non-turn-based combat game I'd played, and I was so overwhelmed because I was like, guys, you can't just come out of nowhere and shoot at me, like, wait, take turns, have some decency. Game playing was very slow throughout the ages. Tech Dweeb also asks, what is your Desert Island retro game and handheld? If you could only have one to play for a very long time. So, okay, so that was retro. I'm gonna be very basic and say like Game Boy Advance with the Mina no Soft Tetris. Because end of the day, like the one thing that you can play forever is Tetris. I was saying this on my Discord the other day, but my mom, who hated video games, like hated them, which explains why I played so few and so slowly, she had the Brick game, which was like, you know, just a standalone Tetris player thing, and she would play it until like 4 a.m. She could not stop playing it, and then she would get mad at herself and she would hide it, and then she would find it one day randomly and it would just continue. I've never met someone who doesn't like Tetris, and that's because it just doesn't get old. It's like the perfect game. Nerdloft Gaming says, what is your favorite movie of any genre? That's hard because like I never know what people mean by favorite movie. Like, is it the movie that I could watch over and over again? Is it the movie that I've seen the most? Is it the movie that like I think is the most artistically elevated? Is it the like get to know me movie? So I'll give one of two. Spirited Away is my favorite movie of like, I could watch it over and over again. And favorite movie of like, get to know me / artistic, I would say Kid with a Bike, which is a movie by the Dardenne brothers. And the acting is just stellar. And the story is pretty like touching. Just Ugu says, what are your favorite moments of the day to play with your handhelds, and do you have any tips on how to share the hobby with your loved ones? That's a good question. Favorite moments of the day to play with handhelds. I don't have a moment of the day. I mean, not in the morning, I guess. Usually in the evenings, maybe in bed, or maybe like if it's something very chill, like with my play date, I might be playing when my girlfriend's watching something on TV that I'm not interested in and I'm just sitting with her. Yeah, or in the evening in bed. Yeah. And then in terms of getting people you love into the hobby, that's really tough. I think it's important to draw a line of how much are you earnestly wanting to share your hobby, and how much are you trying to like insert your hobby into someone's life and like mold them into something that is a bit of like wish fulfillment. Because we can get so enthusiastic about sharing our hobby and like, I'm so passionate about it, therefore you should be so passionate about it, that we can go overboard. I remember seeing this like Reddit post once, and this guy was like, I built this like $2,000 computer for my daughter, but she just plays on her iPad and I'm so upset. And it's like, yeah, it's upsetting, but I don't know, maybe that's not what she wanted. But yeah, it's hard because like I've wanted to get my girlfriend into things, and like I try to be pretty open about it, of like, is this something that you want? But I definitely can go overboard too. And I've like got her like a Switch Lite, I got her like a Miyoo Mini Plus, and I got her a Game Boy Advance SP. But like that's not what she's drawn to. And so ultimately, you know, you can't force it. But to answer the question more evenly, I think if you want to give it a good old try, see what they're interested in first. If they have any experience with anything, like if they grew up with an older console, like maybe setting up Miyoo Mini Plus for them, that's really easy. Making it really accessible, like print out all the shortcuts on like a post-it note or something, and then they can play that. If there's someone who really likes like mystery TV shows, you can introduce them to like mystery games. Like just try to make that connection, and then I think if that clicks, then they might be open to trying other games. But if they're not, because sometimes people might be like, yeah, I'm really into like puzzles, but I don't want to play it on a console, then it's like, okay, well then there's probably not really any way that you're going to want to play something else on the console either. So I hope that helps. It was a bit jaded, but I'm like, I feel you. Techno Colossus says, Nerd Fuse, we are nerd many. That's a good one, Techno Colossus. Very good one. It's the most worth it retro handheld project you can complete for $200 or less. What does worth it mean? Techno Colossus? What does it mean? Like worth your time? Worth the library? Like it depends on what you want. Cause like there are some mods that are insanely cheap, like Pico Boot your GameCube, and you can play like every GameCube game. And it's like, what, $10? You can buy like a flash cart for a Nintendo DS for like $5 at this point. That's pretty worth it. I think in terms of worth it, the only thing I can think of is like mod a Game Boy line handheld to be modernized. If you can find a cheap base handheld, it can come out pretty affordable and under 200, and then just have like the backlit screen and like honestly just the backlit screen. I don't know, I'm not like too crazy on like put in a speaker that can be heard in a Coliseum kind of thing. I mean, I think that's pretty worth it. And like if you do it with a Game Boy Advance, you can play Game Boy Color games, but the Game Boy Color games just like don't look very good on a Game Boy Advance. They look so tiny. So it goes back to like, what do you want? But I think those are pretty worth it. Like I would prefer to play on original hardware when it comes to those games than on an emulator or any other like OEM style option, like a Game Boy player with the GameCube. I don't know. That doesn't really answer your question, but I don't know what worth it means. That's so subjective. But there are a lot of mods you can do for like pennies, if we're not counting the console itself. Frumius Gaming says, if you could have a character named after you in any game series, which would you pick? Isn't there a game that came out a while ago with a Marissa in it? It's like an RPG. Marissa video game character. Oh yeah, there's one in Street Fighter apparently. But no, there's another one. Oh, there's a game on Steam too. Man, I don't know. But no, I wouldn't want a video game character named after me. That's weird. I feel like a video game needs to have a cohesive world that is like self-contained. At least the ones I like, if they're telling a story. And I don't like being taken out of it by real people. Like, actually, it's kind of relevant with Sea of Stars. Like, the one patch they did on the physical cart was editing this like character sprite and changing the name because they'd named him after some YouTuber, and then I guess there was controversy about the YouTuber, so they had to change it. And that sucks. Like, just don't name the character after a YouTuber in the first place. I don't want a YouTuber in my like weird fantasy JRPG. I don't want to be in a video game. I mean, I would love to be in a video game, like, to, like, maybe voice someone. That would be cool. A cameo. Like, if I voice someone in, like, a game and it could be anything, like, Final Fantasy would be cool. Like, old Final Fantasy, but they're kind of off the rails now. I guess maybe an original, like, Kingdom Hearts character, because that's another I like. Yeah. It would be funny to like voice act though, like something like the OG Resident Evil or like Skyrim, or the ones with just really awful dialogue. That was a very serious answer to an unserious question. What's your go-to handheld and favorite game for it? Emulation handhelds included, says Ultimac 8730. I mean, it really seems to be Mr. Driller for Game Boy Advance. Or I just like that seems to be the go-to. Yeah, I don't know if there's like, I think I spent so much of my childhood playing the same games over and over again. Again, like I was playing Sonic Advance over and over again for like ever until I got a new game. And then the number of games I would have were relatively small. So as an adult now, I'm all about like, let's play the next game. Okay, we're done with this. We're never touching it until we finish literally every other game I have. Like, I want to play all the games. I know it's not possible, but like, I want to play all the games. And I can't do that if I'm not, if I'm replaying games. Like when I replayed Bastion several times, I've replayed Transistor too. Like, I love Supergiant games. They really like punched me in the gut with Hades. I'm hoping the sequel is more interesting. But yeah, but like that was before I got into like older games, so I wasn't able to. And I was actually in a place where I only had my Switch anyway, so even if I had other consoles, I wouldn't be able to use them. But whenever I want to test something, a Nintendo handheld, I always pull out Mr. Driller. So I feel like that's my go-to. I mean, you guys ask me if I'm alright when I don't use Mr. Driller. Will Mitchell, 8500, says, what's one change, seen or unseen, that Topics made since starting making videos on YouTube that you're most proud of? What's one change that Topics made since starting making? Like, topics of me? Like, that I've done? I feel like I try to stay pretty on topic, but I think the mods have gotten more complex, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to do more complex mods. But you know, I don't want to just be doing complex mods, because ultimately I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is also a channel to kind of empower you guys to get into modding, to get into repairing, things like that. So I would like to still continue showing easier things when I do end up doing them, because they have to be done. They have to be done. I haven't stopped doing them. But yeah, that's definitely a change that I've liked. Ghost Type says, my question is, can I have your cat? No, he is my son. I gave birth to him. Dancing Ninja 77 says, what is your ultimate dream build, fully carte blanche? If I had to say dream build based on what exists, something that I like actually have been like, I really want this, is the Steam Deck, but the size of a Switch. or even a Switch Lite, don't kill me. Because I really love the Steam Deck and I love like the power and the potential it has. But oh my god, my hands fall asleep. It is big. It is not a handheld. It holds your hand, in fact. My other answer would be something that I can't put into words. I think the most interesting handheld to have come out that really deserves that title is the Panic Playdate. Emulators, sure, they're handhelds, but they're playing games that already exist. The Nintendo Switch like has proprietary games, but it doesn't feel like handheld games anymore. So I would really like a handheld that actually plays games that are made for it. Something that's unexpected, that is new. I'll be repeating this on my love letter to the Playdate when I get around to filming that, but we're really like, everything's become such a monolith. Like, we just have different ways of playing the same games. And it's all about making those games like shinier and prettier and more realistic. And, you know, yeah, you can still make games for like Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color and stuff. And not a lot of people are making games for Game Boy Advance because I also feel like the aesthetic is still so timeless that you might as well like just make the game for a Switch or something. So it would be really amazing if someone came out with something the way that Panic bet on the Playdate and actually had games. Of course, the difference there is like the state of games being what they are, being so monolithic, making a game that's ultimately going to come out on like 5 different platforms. If someone approaches you as a game studio and says, hey, I have this handheld and I'm not Nintendo and I'm not Sony, can you make like a game for it? They are very likely to say no. The amazing thing about the Playdate is just how accessible developing games for it is. And, you know, they are very cheap and just very full of like just fun. So that's my answer to that, which is it makes me a bit sad to say, because, you know, you're realizing like, we don't really have handhelds anymore, do we? SkyTie0 says least favorite dinosaur. T-Rex. It's scary. Its arms are too short. It's too big. Tamazon X says, do you plan to start modding alt handhelds like the Turbo Express or Neo Geo Pocket Color? Probably not the Turbo Express. I would like to get my hands on a Neo Geo Pocket Color, but they are really expensive. If someone wants to send me one, I'll mod it and I'll say thank you, but I don't think I'll be getting one anytime soon. And I also, I try to invest in things that I'm actually going to use. So again, that's one where I'm like, I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. J Sukimoto 9700 says, congrats, do you have some favorite manga? Also, best starter Pokemon. By the way, a lot of people said like congrats and stuff. I just for some reason only read the one on this comment. Do I have favorite manga? At this point, I kind of like was reading like the manga that was popular when I was a kid, and like everything was just out there. This was before like, Viz Media and stuff just bought everything and like licensed everything. And then I kind of fell off for a long time, and now I mainly read like Slice of Life and GL. The ones that I'm keeping up with right now is the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. It's so good. I love it. It's so cute, and also just the colors, like so good. And then the other one, which I am actually collecting physical books of, which is not something that I've really done, is The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today, because it is so good. Like, it might be getting queer, I don't know. If you've read it and you're caught up, let me know what you think. But I don't even care about that. It's just like, the cat is so beautiful, and like he kind of reminds me of my cat Marcel, and also like the person who wrote this clearly loves cats so much. Like, I've read manga about cats, I've watched anime about cats, but like the love for this cat is so palpable. I have cried over this Slice of Life because I'm just like, the cats love me, they love the cats. It's very good. Another favorite, it's not a manga, it's a Korean manhwa, is What Does the Fox Say? And it is not safe for work, but it's a GL, and I really like that also because it's actually about adults. crazy. Like a romance that does not take place in high school. Oh, also another adult one is Even Though We're Adults, which is also about, is an adult GL. It's kind of slow, but the mangaka has a history of writing about LGBT people as well. So it's really good. Yeah, and I will always love Azumanga Daioh. It's so good. It's so funny. It formed my sense of humor as a youth, and I still cry, laugh over it. Oh yes, and best starter Pokemon. Oh, I don't know if I have a good opinion on this. So when I started playing Pokemon, my friend who I thought was really cool, he had influenced all of us other friends to believe that water Pokemon were superior. So I always chose the water starter, and that's kind of become ingrained in my blood. I mean, my first one was Mudkip, so I do have a soft spot for Mudkip. And I recently watched a video where someone was saying that like those games, that generation's broken because with Mudkip, you're guaranteed to easily win, and that made me really sad. But aesthetically, I really like the grass Pokemon more so, like Rowlet and Bulbasaur, just good design. Generally, not a huge fan of the fire Pokemon. Christopher Sanford 7232. You guys really need to update your usernames because you can get rid of the numbers now. Just saying. Says a full video on that beautiful cat sounds great. Okay, I will make a video of Marcel. I'll do a day in the life of Marcel. I'm not a very good videographer, so it might be shaky. And he thinks the camera will eat his soul. So sometimes he just he leaves or looks away whenever there's a camera in his face. But I'll do my best because I love him very much. Boogie OG7SF says, my question would be, how did you end up so cool? I don't know. I don't think I'm cool. But I think that things that I find cool is like being very open and compassionate and not gatekeeping. Wear a helmet while you skateboard. People with like pseudo mullets or shag haircuts can be cool. I think like goths are cool, punks are cool. This is not answering your question, but I appreciate it. As someone who also has curly hair, what's your hair care routine? Well, leather bacon, I might be the worst person to ask that because my hair type is kind of all over the place. I have hair on my head that's anywhere from like 2A to like 3B or something. It's stupid. Well, maybe not 3B, probably like 3A. Like the bottom of my hair is really straight compared to like other layers, and then the weather, the temperature, the length, all of it affects that, you know. I can't have long curly hair because when my hair grows out, it straightens itself because of the weight, but not to gatekeep. I've been using Bread shampoo and conditioner, Bread Beauty Supply. They have like these ones that are used for like cleansing and deep conditioning, and you can use those like once a week or whatever, depending on how often you use product in your hair. And then they've come out with like just a regular shampoo and conditioner, and I use those. I also like the Verb Ghost shampoo and conditioner, which is significantly cheaper and lasts longer, but it doesn't give me like as tight of a curl, so I tend to use different one depending on the length of my hair. And then I use either Bread hair cream or a Ceremonia hair cream while my hair is wet, and I diffuse it with a hairdryer, with the diffuser bowl. And some styling products I like are from Evo. I like their sea salt spray. I like their Total Recoil curling like gel, and I like their hair wax as well. Depending on your hairstyle, like putting some wax at the ends. I don't have any right now, but that can be pretty neat. One good idea I heard was getting a mister bottle and just filling it with water, and that way when you wake up, if your hair is weird or something, you just mist it and you reset it. And that's been very helpful because before that I was like, well, guess my day's ruined unless I shower or unless I wash my hair. Hope that helps. Vincent Bicol, BKL, says, when merch? We want Cool Uncle stickers, mugs, teas, and stuff. So I have stickers, got a pixel fish on it, and it says, fish fear me, Cool Uncle loves me, and they're still available in my Ko-fi. So get it. But in terms of other merch, I mean, what would you guys want? I don't know like what I would put on a shirt. I can make shirts, I just don't know what to put on it. So Let me know in the comments what you would like on a shirt. John005 has a few questions. What was your first attempt at soldering, repairing, or modding in general? Those are different questions. First attempt at soldering was actually, I ordered a Nohohon, which is a solar powered like bobblehead from Tomy. That I used to collect those when I was in high school, and my mom donated all of them to the charity shop, I believe. But I thought I'd get a couple, you know, to be in my home as an adult. The person who sold it to me didn't pack it very well, and we have one insane postal worker after another, and they played like soccer with it, so it wasn't working. And I saw this guy on YouTube, this one man who fixes these things, and you basically have to solder back this wire, and I never soldered. I didn't know what that was. I bought the crappiest soldering iron in the world off of Amazon, and it just like ended in tears because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, it's a cute decoration now, and I ended up getting another one that does work to nod by the window. In terms of repairing console, the first time I tried to repair was my DS Lite because it was having screen issues when I took it out of storage. I opened it up, and I think like a ton of stuff fell out, and basically I ended up throwing it in the trash, which future me is like, why would you do that? But I didn't know. We didn't know better. Also, like, this was when like probably if you wanted to buy a DS Lite off eBay, it was like $2. Jesus, don't judge me. But yeah, in terms of consoles, the first one I worked on, I feel like was a Game Boy Advance. It's either Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color, but it was just the IPS screen, so you're just soldering one wire. What was your first soldering tools and materials, and what did you upgrade to? I didn't really upgrade much. I like just got everything off iFixit, and I kept everything. I did change my soldering iron from the Miniware TS100, 1000 to the Pine-Sil, because the Pine-Sil takes USB-C, and the TS1 whatever, I was having issues with the barrel connector. The barrel just kept popping out. I think it was just too loose on mine. So that was incredibly annoying. I didn't have problems with the iron itself. I've added stuff. I've got like a hot plate and hot air and stuff, but I haven't like gotten rid of anything, or you know, iFixit is a good place to start, essentially, is what I'm saying. Did you study in electronics and or tech, or did you work in electronics and or tech? No, I am an artiste. My degrees are in French, theater, and English literature. My career is I am an actor. And that was a big reason I wanted to start this channel, because I'm like, you can be dumb and still do this stuff. I'm kidding, not dumb, but like you can, you know what I mean. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be like I've always had a soft spot for tech, and like I can like troubleshoot stuff and I know my way around things, but like I don't have like the brain to be very mathematical or scientific. Have you been to Canada? Will you visit Canada? That has like big, do you wear wigs? Will you ever wear wigs? Have you worn wigs? Vibes. I have not been to Canada. I would love to come to Canada. I have friends in Canada. There's this tattoo artist I want to visit in Canada. Canada is so big. Why is it so big? And will you give a tour of the Uncle Marissa man cave, woman cave? No, because I don't have one. We live in an apartment, and my stuff is just wherever I can fit it. Some of it's in a cabinet, some of it's in a different cabinet, some of it's in the IKEA rolling cart. So what I would have to do is give you a tour of our apartment, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. But I have promised for a while like a toolkit tour, which I will do that. But yeah, even like my games, like some of them are in the living room, some of them are in the bedrooms. Everything's just everywhere. I'm like a squirrel. I just find whatever I can. It is raining so loudly. I don't know if you guys can hear it. And Lazy Villager says, would you ever do Twitch lives restoring stuff? That's kind of twofold. Like, would I want to? Maybe. Like, I would like to try, but I get really like uncomfortable if someone's watching me while I'm doing things. It kind of throws me off. But the unfortunate answer is I don't really think I can, because the way that things are set up, it's really hard for me to be able to connect my like camera or anything to a computer and work and still be able to like answer questions and see the camera. Like I could get like an extra long cable, but then I wouldn't be able to see what you guys are saying or have any control of the stream. But sometimes on my Discord, I'll stream myself when I'm making labels and stuff in Photoshop. So if you really want to see me do something, join the Discord and you might catch that. But yeah, unfortunately, in the foreseeable future, I just don't see that being a possibility space-wise. That's it. That's all the questions. Thank you guys for all the questions. Hopefully my answers were worthy of the questions, and anything that was a request that was hopeful. I'm sorry if I'm not able to do it. You know, I'm working with what I've got, but that doesn't mean you should stop with bringing up any ideas that might come across your mind, because I'm always open to ideas. And if I ever say no, I'm not saying no to you. There's just usually going to be a reason, whether that's a physical limitation, financial limitation, whatever it could be. But yeah, 10,000, that's so many. I can't say how much that means to me, so I won't try too hard. I do have a lot of videos in the works that have been like partially recorded and need to be recorded more. Basically the talking heads parts and then edited and put together. So that's good. But yeah, let me know like what kind of merch you want, if you want merch. Like I literally have no idea what I would do. I have those stickers. I also sell like labels and stuff on my Ko-fi, as well as just free resources on my Ko-fi. So feel free to visit that. I've also got affiliate links always in the bottom, so if you ever want to follow along or feel inspired by any of the videos, it'll help me and it'll help you. Thanks again for all the questions, for your interest in me as a human being. And don't forget that Cool Uncle loves you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.